Hello, and welcome back. Well, today I've decided I want to tell you a difficult story. And this one I'm going to call the pencil anomaly. The next few weeks I'm going to be dealing with some parent-teacher interactions that are not typical. They were unusual, they happened very rarely, and they definitely exposed my inability to deal with every situation well. But they also taught me things. So today I'd like to tell you about a parent-child-teacher situation. When I first started teaching English, I did it pretty much the way I've been taught, which we all wrote these position essays. You would take on a debatable position and then propose a theory and do research and then write an essay arguing for your point of view. It's a pretty direct assignment, and it required process. It took weeks and weeks to do. And so this happened my first year, and before we got to working on the papers, we all chose subjects. So every kid had to choose a subject, and I had to prove it. And so I had their names listed with the subjects they were going to write about, the positions they were going to take. So, eventually the papers came due, and they came in, and I started reading them. And I got to this one paper by this young, high school freshman boy, and I'm reading the paper, and I'm like, why is he writing on this topic? I don't think I approved this topic, and I'm certain that I would remember if he had chosen this topic. And so I went back and looked at the list that I had, and he didn't choose that topic. This was an entirely new topic for his theme paper. And I thought, well, this is so strange. There's something not right here. I have the feeling that maybe he's not playing straight dice. So the next day, I called him to my desk at the end of class and said I needed to visit with him. And I said, now, what happened here? Why is this on this subject? This is not the subject you were supposed to be researching. Well, I didn't like that subject. Well, then why did you choose? So it was that kind of conversation. We were kind of back and forth, and I would ask him questions, and his answers would be kind of strange. And so I started like paging through this deck, because I had stopped grading. The minute I suspected that this wasn't genuinely him, I stopped grading. And because I wanted to run this down. And so I opened up the paper, and on the rough draft it started with his handwriting. It was typed, but the rough draft had to be attached. So it started with his handwriting. The first page was his handwriting, but when I turned to the second page, it was somebody else's handwriting, clearly more mature handwriting. And I said, who wrote this? And held it to him, and he said, my mom. And then he spilled it all, that he was trying to type the paper the night before, and he asked his mom to help him, and his mom started looking at the paper, and his mom didn't like what he had written and decided that she needed to intervene, and she decided that she would write the paper. And he revealed all of this. So, what do you do then? What do you do then? So I wrote a letter to her. I wrote a note to her. And I said, your son, I said his name, tells me that you've written this paper for him, and I think you ought to. It's fine that if you want to help him, you can help him, but you shouldn't write his paper. He needs to write the paper he originally planned to write, and I'll give him a week to get it done and resubmit it. Don't write his papers for him anymore. That's essentially what I said in the letter. So I thought that was a very fine way of dealing with it. Now, I think there are a lot of teachers now that would say, no, zero it. You have to zero it and you have to turn him in for cheating. Fair enough. Maybe that would have been a better way to deal with it. But I was young and I don't know. School papers, are they worth... Anyway, he was clearly mad at his mother for doing this to him. So, fine. He agreed to that. We sent the thing home. I felt like I dealt with it and been very sweet and kind and merciful and all that. The next day I get a note back. And the note says, I did not write his paper for him. He wrote the paper. I just held the pencil. Wow. Wow. Well, first of all, the kid was clearly mad about this whole thing because he let her actually humiliate herself in front of me by letting her lie in the note. Because he had said, no, she wrote it because she didn't like his earlier paper. She wrote it. But she's claiming here that he wrote it, she just held the pencil. And so my first reaction was, well, shit, next time you want to cheat, make him hold the pencil. But that's not what I put down. I don't remember, I don't think I wrote back. I just was so astonished by it. And the final twist of the weirdness in this was, I discovered that his mother was a teacher. What? So, yeah, why would you do that? Because first of all, it's cheating, and cheating is wrong. Cheating is wrong, okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. Cheating is wrong. Don't do it. It comes directly from the devil. Don't let the devil build a house in your heart. What's wrong with you? Don't cheat. First of all, that's it. The second thing is, she actually damaged the relationship with her son over a freshman English paper because he was clearly angry at her for treating his ideas as if they weren't unworthy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the teen years. Teens have ideas that are going to offend and horrify you, parents. Get on board and start dealing with it in a more rational way. Don't expect them to like it when you say, this is a dumb paper, I'm going to rewrite it for you and you're going to turn in my work to be graded. Wrong. That's the wrong way to do it. And I know I don't have children, but I'm telling you right now, that was a bad decision from that mother. That was a bad thing for her to do. She shouldn't have done that. So that's the pencil anomaly. Now, do parents do this? They certainly try. And from then on, I approached building the papers slightly differently so that it would be impossible for a parent to pull that. Because I graded the portions as they went along. Rather than grading the whole thing at the end, I graded the portions, and it did two things. It made it easier for me to grade the final product, and it interfered with that particular type of cheating. Now, if you're guilty of this kind of cheating, I'm sorry for you. You need to talk to God about it, not me. And finally, if you engage too much in something like that, that kind of dishonest behavior, you're going to start to see the world through that lens of dishonesty, and you'll destroy your trust. And that is the worst thing of all. You need to try to be an honest broker so that you can identify honest brokers when you meet them. Because when you become a false broker, a liar, you can't tell truth from Shinola. Well, that's it for today, the pencil anomaly. Next week, on Friday, I'll tell you another anomaly. And I look forward to tomorrow. We have an interview tomorrow that I'm very excited about, and I hope you'll join me. And otherwise, I hope you have a glorious rest of the day. And I hope you see me tomorrow, you gorgeous people.